Have you always wondered how to use a pregnancy calculator and how actually are women figuring out their due date when using them? There is a lot being said and done about pregnancy and pregnancy calculators. But, to simplify it, it is a convenient and yet simple tool by which you can calculate your date of conception and your due date of childbirth. This is based on your menstrual period, symptoms that you have and the tests that you have done. Since pregnancy usually lasts from 37 to 42 weeks from the first day of your last period. This is also used to figure out the estimated date and compute the likely conception date. Excited mothers are now very aware of the pregnancy stages and the different implications at each stage, making them want to know all about the conception, due date, and childbirth. At the very outset, however, it is important to understand that these estimates are never 100% accurate. You can probably guess the date of conception if you have had sexual intercourse occasionally. While your pregnancy calculator can give you a rough idea about your due date, you could end up delivering just before or after the same. However, you can still determine the month or even the exact week of the infant's birth. So how does it work? When you are able to accurately know the first day of your last period plus the exact number of days in your cycle, the calculator is able to tell you how many days you are fertile. You can also determine when your due date will be if you get pregnant, and even when your ovulation dates will be in subsequent months if you do not get pregnant this month. Pregnancy calculators are a great help to many pregnant women. They give you better insight of when you are able to conceive, which will release you out of stress for sure. It also makes your planning process simpler, efficient in counting weeks, and knowing when to expect your period or a positive pregnancy test. How to use a pregnancy calculator? First, you have to locate a pregnancy calculator online. Simply enter the date of your last menstrual and the number of days in your menstrual cycle into the pregnancy calculator, then click Calculate. This will help you get the results for your expected delivery date. Moreover, you can use the results of the calculator to determine the week of your pregnancy. And finally, to discover the date of conception. In addition, some online pregnancy calculator also needs the number of days in your menstrual cycle when calculating the likely conception date from the given birthday or due date. Just remember, the more you know about your own monthly cycle, the more accurate the result will be. So why use it? Human minds like certainty. It can be frustrating and stressful not knowing when you have your proper due date. Having a probable date to look forward to will make it much easier to wait. Pregnancy calculators therefore provide us a time frame of our wait towards happiness of new member of family. Also, one of the most common reason on why women use these calculators is planning due date and knowing when you will get pregnant. Knowing this will help you plan your pregnancy around your schedule. Using a calculator will help you determine your due date during specific months, so you can plan accordingly. But why should you determine your date? What are advantages of knowing your due date? 1. You will have a clearer picture on the things that you can and cannot do. Remember, the months nearing the due date are the most crucial stages of pregnancy. 2. Expecting parents can at least know when to go to the hospital. It is highly advisable for expecting mothers to be already in the hospital at least 2 weeks prior to the date. Given the calculated due date, an expecting mother can now have an idea when to prepare for going to the hospital. Now on some problems using this method. One of the primary problems in using this method is the actual inability to determine the first day of the last menstrual cycle or the determined date. Since there is a great possibility to have a false starting period, then the results will be incorrect too. Mothers who are uncertain or unable to determine the first date of their last menstrual cycle can have an early ultrasound. This will certainly help to determine how old the embryo really is. The age of the embryo is then deducted to the 40 weeks period. The due date determined by an online pregnancy calculator or any other forms or methods to determine the due date of a pregnancy is, as said before, not 100% accurate. There are certain instances where infants are born prematurely due to certain factors, and there are also instances where the infant is born after the calculated date. But these two instances should not really cause you much of a trouble, since they are pretty normal. Some last thoughts on this tool. Did you know that only 5% of women worldwide give birth on their exact due date? Your pregnancy calculator gives you only an approximate value and never the exact figure of your due date. Nevertheless, it helps you to get a close idea about when you can expect your baby. Also, the significance of this tool has less to do with the final moment of birth and more to do with the progress of the pregnancy. There will be slight differences in everyone's growth and fetal development. Any problems or difficulties should be reported to your doctor. With the proper information and knowledge, you will know what to expect during pregnancy, as well as how to handle different pregnancy symptoms on your way to giving birth.